Welcome to Books on Point. As Diabo mentioned in her segment, we are 26 weeks into lockdown from level 5, which started on March 27th, all the way to level 1. Books on Point has reviewed and interviewed 25 local and international authors. We started off with Finding Ground, a book published by agricultural economist Wandile Sihlobo. It's a book perfectly positioned to provide a well-rounded, accessible view of agriculture in South Africa. Starting a side hustle is hard, and if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Knowing all of this, Nick Haralambous joined us to talk about his book, taking in 20 years of side hustle and startup experience to walk you through patiently through the steps, both practical and philosophical rather, about starting your own side hustle. And my personal favorite was interviewing the mother of South African-born entrepreneur Elon Musk. She overcame her hardships with a no-nonsense attitude to become a global success at what she calls the prime of her life. So thank you to the 25 authors who shared their work with us. So today we have our 26th author. In 2016, Richard Wright was confronted with a rare diagnosis of rare pituitary cancer, a disease which is little known about other than that it's almost invariably terminal. In attempting to deal with this bleak knowledge, Richard defined what mattered most in his life, his true purpose, which was ensuring that his two young daughters would not have to grow up without a dad. He joins us now to talk about his book, The Power of Purpose, How to Obliterate Obstacles and Triumph Over Impossible Adversity. Richard, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Tash, thank you for having me. I'm absolutely thrilled to be on the show. Thank you.
So talk to me about the inspiration of writing it. I mean, how did the discussion start with the publishers? How did they even hear about your story?
So I've been wanting to write the book. So as you said, the cancer journey started in 2016. And I started the first chapter of a book about a year later, and that's as far as I got. And so then when Tracy McDonald got hold of me and said, listen, would you like a cup of coffee and let's chat about perhaps, writing a book? I was delighted. It was like, wow, that's fantastic. She said that she'd had a look at my profile and had a look at the story and read some of the things that I'd written and wanted to have coffee. And that was great because I'm a lastminute.com kind of guy. If there's no pressure, it's not going to happen. And to have someone like Tracy who literally, made sure that I stuck to the deadlines and delivered on time, that was critical.
One of the things that happens in the book is that we follow you through this emotional journey from, finding out about your divorce, finding about the first instances when you had to go for, the doctor checkups, etc. Writing this book, did it feel as though it was a bit of a therapy session? Because most authors who have gone through what you've gone through feel as though it's like a second therapy session where you're reliving the experiences and you probably having to heal in certain aspects.
Tash, you're 100% correct there. It was extremely cathartic and difficult to write. So there were lots of tears. And what I would do is I literally wrote for 22 days on the trot. And for the first 10 days, my partner Deborah was away and I was at home alone writing this book. And every night we would phone and then I'd read to her what I'd written. And many of those evenings when I read back to her what I'd written in that day it was really hard to get through what I had written and what I'd put down on paper. And it absolutely is exactly like a therapy session. Although I think I realized how much more therapy I really do need. I don't think that cancer, even when you're in remission, it doesn't just disappear. There's a lot of healing that needs to take place.
What are some of the things that you learned about yourself, throughout that journey from 2016 right up until right now?
That's a great question. So I'm just thinking off the top of my head now. I think one of the lessons I learned more than any is that I am tenacious and resilient and able to handle anything that life throws at me. And despite the insecurities I've had since I was a kid, and a lot of that is in the book, I'm not the person that I thought I was and that I've been conditioned to believe that I am. I'm more than that. And so that journey of overcoming really has been an amazing thing for me, that I can stand tall and stand proud and know that I can handle absolutely anything that life throws at me. And I think another thing that I learned is how little I know about a whole bunch of things. And just when you think you're an expert in something, you realize you're not. And so writing was exactly that. It was, in fact, when when the final manuscript had to go out, I begged Tracy to please give me more time because I couldn't even get through what I'd written. It was like, oh, this is terrible. I don't want people to read this. And, just that insecurity, I think, in how much we know and how much we don't know, and how we can always be better. So I think that was a big thing for me, learning to be better and to challenge myself to be better.
Speaking of things that you don't know or that you do know along the way, you write a very interesting paragraph about the brain, which then makes me think that there's a fascination that you had grown over the years about understanding how the human brain works. You talk about writing your goals down, but then writing it with the hand that you don't write with, i.e. if you're right-handed and you want to write your goals down, you should write them with your left hand. Take me through how you got to that reasoning.
I'm thrilled that you picked that up. So I love that. I do quite a lot of life coaching, and we always start there. So the brain the subconscious brain cannot think for itself, and it runs on and whatever we consciously think and then put that in. And actually, if you think about it, most of us are ruled by what we read on that little device, what we're allowing in. That's how we assimilate information. And depending on what you choose who you choose to follow, what you choose to read, the news you choose to listen to, is going to determine what you think. And whatever you think, your subconscious brain goes to work at a confirmation bias, confirming that is true and filtering out all the things that disprove whatever it is that you've just told it you should believe. So, and that's for anything. If you think you're having a tough time right now through COVID and you admit that to yourself openly, well, good luck. Now your brain is going to filter in all the reasons why you are actually having a tough time. So what happens with those goals and writing it with the wrong hands? I'm right-handed. If I write it with the left hand, what I'm doing now is I'm reinforcing that concept because I'm connecting new neurons in my brain through synapses that haven't connected before. So I'm reinforcing the concept so much more. And if you think about it, my eyes are involved. I'm hearing myself writing on the paper. I can feel the pen. I can even smell the ink if I'm using ink. And all of that reinforces that idea. And then your brain goes to work at trying to make this thing come true. So it's an incredibly powerful way. And it's the same thing in terms of the events that I did. Ultra endurance events I did, and when things get really bad, is concentrating on what you put into your brain. And I have a mantra that I repeat to myself over and over. But throughout the years, I've been involved in human behavior and coaching and training, and I'm fascinated by what the brain can do and the power. Especially when that is, like the title of the book, The Power of Purpose, when whatever it is that you are wanting to achieve is linked to your sense of purpose and meaning.
You went through a difficult time, especially as you were going through, finding out about the cancer and everything else that happened afterwards. But the one thing that you kept on doing, which motivated you, was those endurance races, participating in Ironman. For the viewer who's always thought about doing it, from your perspective, what does it take to complete an Ironman?
You've just got to want to do it really badly. See, there again, it's a brain exercise, because whether you think you can complete a full Ironman, whether you think you can't, you're 100% correct. And I point this out in the book, is that you've got more than enough time to do the event in. You could literally swim breaststroke, and if you just kept on going, you'd make the cutoff. You can cycle a mountain bike and cycle at about 23 k's an hour average for the 180 kilometer cycle. Yes, it's a long time, but you don't have to be fast at all. And then you can walk the whole marathon and you'll still make the event under 17 hours. But it's because we believe it's so big, and because the amount of distance added up seems so huge, it's this daunting thing that we can't do. So I think that many more people are capable of it, and you've just got to want to. But I think for many people, it becomes the sense of purpose. I'm doing this thing for a reason. I'm overcoming something. I'm doing it because of the goal that it represents, or I'm becoming a better version of myself, or whatever that is. But for me, during the cancer, every single time I got to the finish line of an event, it was two things. Number one, it was, if I can do that, if I can overcome the thoughts in my head and just power on, despite how I'm feeling physically, and get to the finish line, surely I can beat brain cancer. And number two, every single time I do that, I'm showing my two little girls that their dad's going to be okay. And that was a hard part of the cancer, very tough thing to go through, is watching the impact it had on my two little girls, and wanting to try and protect them and prevent them from not being able to celebrate their lives as kids, having to grow up too fast.
Richard, thank you so much for your time. That's it for Books on Point, and we were interviewing Richard Wright. We have more news with Nzinga Gunta at the top of the hour. We have your details with my colleague Mdu. The floor is yours.